Hi, this is Philippa Hanna and you're watching MBTV.
Today we're here with Philippa Hanna, a fantastic artist, and we've just seen her perform doing support for Lionel Richie in Nottingham, and she absolutely wowed the crowd and of course us as well. Philippa, we've been following you since basically the start, with your first music and stuff like that. How do you feel now that you've come so far with your music from where you began?
I just feel really grateful for everything that's happened on the journey, and I've really been thinking about this since the start of the Lionel tour particularly. I just think there's no such thing as a big break. I think God gives you little breaks, and if you grab them and if you're faithful with them, He'll give you a slightly bigger break. Yeah. And that's kind of what we've seen, you know, myself and my friends and my family and my team, my husband. We've just seen that if you just honour God with the little things, He just seems to want to bless you.
Now, even though you've been on stage supporting Lionel Richie and stuff like that, you haven't had to change the message in your music, and it's very powerful to hear you singing about self-worth, singing about your faith. And how has your faith impacted your music and the lyrics that you write?
I think for me, faith gave me the permission to be myself, and it just made me able to be honest and about my journey and about how I feel and the things I go through. And I think around the time I became a Christian, there was a bit of a renaissance for artists who were really honest, you know, people like Kate Nash and I guess even people like Adele to a degree, just like really straightforward, honest music. And so I think because I came from that little wave, but I'm also a Christian on top of that, it just seemed really natural to be honest about faith. And I think that in this day and age, it's okay to be honest about faith because it's a really all-embracing culture nowadays.
Yeah. So how have you found that your songs have been received while on this tour with Lionel Richie?
I've been amazed at the reception, really. I mean, even just now, people coming up to me and saying hi and just pointing to the I Am Amazing track and just being like, that really spoke to me. Shh. Because like people don't think that anyone else feels like that, but we all feel like that. And I think that's when someone sort of vocalises it, I just think it makes everyone feel a bit more united.
Yeah. So on this tour, you've actually done the O2 Arena, a massive arena, the UK's flagship arena, and you've been in arenas all up and down in the country. How has that experience been, and is there one venue or city in particular that has stood out?
There have been some really, really good ones, and I really enjoyed Manchester. There was just a vibe about Manchester. They were really welcoming and warm. Tonight was really good in Nottingham. I had a bit of a mishap with my guitar, and it just seemed to warm people, actually. It was good. It's funny, isn't it? You sort of do something wrong and everyone goes, okay, let's be nice to her. And but it was really good. And I think the O2, I mean, it was incredible. Just going backstage in the O2, you can see all the people who've played there. Like, everybody has played in the O2, you know, all your favourite acts. And I just thought, you know, God's really opened this door, and it just proves that mountains really can be moved, you know, when He's in the picture.
Now, one of the things that was amazing about tonight was that you called out your dad and spoke about his influence, and you know, in interviews and other stuff in times past, you've always mentioned your dad and his role in your life musically and stuff like that. What was it like having him in the crowd to see you perform in front of such a vast amount of people tonight?
One of the things that I've loved about going on this tour was the kind of the opportunity to make mum and dad proud, because they love what I do, and they always feel like they'd love more people to know about it. So I think for them it must be a bit of a sort of a sigh of relief, like, oh, people are getting to hear these songs. I just think it was really, really nice for them to be able to see that.
I don't wanna waste any more time in the mirror watching my face. ways never change. I don't feel beautiful today. Oh, and I don't
Okay, so you've just announced that you're going to be releasing a new album called Through the Woods. What's the concept behind that? It's a really interesting title.
I got inspired while I was on a trip to Cornwall, and we were staying with a family who had a wolf as a pet.
Wow.
And not 100% wolf, but like sort of 60-50% wolf and 40-50% Alsatian or something. And I was just looking at this dog, and it just inspired me. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but I was thinking about the wolves in our lives, you know, like wolves of insecurity and wolves of worry about finance and jealousy. That's a real one, you know. I think the wolf of jealousy seems to hound so many people, and myself included. And you find yourself becoming insecure about other people's success or their good looks or whatever, and it's so destructive. And it made me think about Red Riding Hood and her coat, you know, her ruby cherry coloured hood, and how that's like, for me, that's like Jesus. Like, I can wear him, I can wear my faith, and it protects me from those things. And it just opened up a whole fairy tale world in my mind, and I just started to think about all these great concepts, like biting into an apple and falling asleep. You know, that's like so biblical and yet so fairy tale. And I just thought it was about time we kind of involved our followers and fans a bit more as well. Yeah. And so we're doing like a crowd-funded album on Kickstarter.com, which people can look up, and we really just want them to kind of get involved, you know, invest emotionally and financially, and come on the journey with us. Okay, so
name a few of the song titles and the different stories in those songs that you think really tell the story of Through the Woods.
So there's Cherry Coloured Coat, which is the Red Riding Hood themed song, and Apples, which is about it's actually about love, really, and how when you're not complete, you find yourself looking for love and expect that to complete you. But what happens if you're not complete to begin with? It actually just eats away at you. It's like you're an apple that's being eaten away bit by bit. And that's definitely what it was like for me until I became a Christian, and then suddenly I was like a whole apple again, and I was able to, then I could actually love people properly. So that's what that's about. And then I've got a song called Sharks, actually, which is about swimming with sharks, and how it's actually a bit of a kind of metaphor for people who self-harm, because I've come across this a lot in people I've met and people I've been close to, and how it's, you know, God, Jesus suffered for us, and you know, he feels it when we feel pain. And I think that to put yourself through that, you need to know that it's already been done for you. And every time you hurt yourself because you don't feel good, it's like, you know, it's like breaks God's heart. And so we need to think about that and how much we're worth, how much our body and who we are is worth to God. So yeah, that's a few little tasters.
So what about the styles of music that we're going to hear? You know, are you diversifying, or are you adding anything exciting, anything that we won't expect?
I think it won't be completely like crazy, but it's a lot folkier, but it's still got that gospel sort of lilt to it. So it's like, I would say it's like gospel folk, yeah.
Fantastic. And also, a lot of your music speaks about insecurities and, you know, finding self-worth in Jesus. For anyone who's watching this interview now, what would you say to them, you know, if they're feeling down about themselves, not happy with who they are? What words of encouragement would you leave with them?
I would like to say, firstly, don't give yourself a hard time for feeling insecure, because everybody feels insecure. So don't feel like you've failed because you don't like yourself. But be honest with yourself about that, and just realise you can fall on God. That's what I do all the time. Like, and I'm so honest with him, and I'll say to him, like, what are you doing? I don't know. You know, I'm so vocal and honest with God. It's a bit silly sometimes, but I think that's really good for the relationship. And if it was my dad and I was in trouble, I'd be honest with my dad. And so you can be honest with God about how you feel.
Okay, and the last question we have for you now is, other than the album, What other exciting plans do you have for 2013, and what can we look forward to?
There's going to be a book that follows the album.
Wow.
And the book is almost finished. It's literally like in the last couple pages that I'm on, and then it's going to editing. But the book accompanies the album basically, and the book is going to be called Following the Breadcrumbs. So it's like you're following the breadcrumbs through the woods, and it's actually how God drops these little things in your life which carry you through. So it could be, you know, a meeting with you guys, you know, meeting MBTV and M-brio, and how that was really like a breadcrumb from God, which led me along the journey, and then meeting my manager, meeting my husband, little blessings. That's what carries you. You don't get, God never reveals the whole journey to you. You can never really see where you go into the end, but you can see a breadcrumb in front of you. So I think that's the theme of the book.
Fantastic.